Next in our travelogue will be Hungary. Hungary is part of the former Austria-Hungary combination. And we will be going to Budapest here, which is actually former two cities, Buda and Pest, which are now one, on the Danube River that comes on down from Vienna, Bratislava, and is really a site of one of the great Viking Danube cruises, if that's something of interest to you. Hungary does have a lot of low landing areas, but where the Budapest is, some upland areas, little more mountainous, but not like Western Austria. The territory of present-day Hungary has been a crossroads for various people, including the Celts, the Celts, how you pronounce it, Romans, Germanic tribes, Huns, West Slavs, and Avars. By the 12th century, Hungary became a regional power, reaching its cultural and political height in the 15th century. Following the Battle of Mohacs in 1526, it was partially occupied by the Ottoman Empire. Hungary came under Habsburg rule in the turn of the 17th century, later joining part of the Austrian Empire to form Austria-Hungary, a major power into the early 20th century. Austria-Hungary, the Habsburg Empire, collapsed after World War I. The subsequent Treaty of Trianon established Hungary's current borders. Now, Hungary became a European Union member in 2004, has its own currency, the forint. That's a member of the Schengen Borders Agreement, became part of NATO in 1999. It, however, was part of the Soviet-dominated but not part of the Soviet Union of Soviet republics. Now, the population had been growing, but then began to drop, and then after the fall of the Soviet Union, really has dropped quite a bit. And a lot of this has been movement of the Poles to Germany, because often they share this common language and so forth. Poland or Hungary, Hungarians really wanted to go more toward Western Europe. Now, Hungary is way down the list when it comes to the index of economic freedom. Both on ease of doing business, it's way down, quite far below Poland, and really was the vanguard of the nationalist populist movement in Eastern Europe, and has been a major problem, a thorn in the European Union side for a number of years. On a per capita basis, gross domestic product, Hungary is fairly far down, less than half the index for the United States. The growth rate really was there about 5% in the early 2010s, dropped again during the pandemic, rose and then fall again. The unemployment rate is really quite low. Really was down, way down, about 3.5% there for a while, and just about 4%. So the Hungarian unemployment rate is really good, despite it's not so good place for doing business. Now, Hungary is a major recipient of transfers from the European Union. Again, we see why it did not like when the United Kingdom left. So things to see in Budapest. Nighttime sightseeing along Danube is awesome. The parliamentary building is really beautiful in the daytime. At night, lit up, is that much more beautiful. St. Stephen's Basilica is one of the very big landmarks, and you'll learn more about that, particularly on the tour with David. And you go outside of Vensker Hotel and take a right, go 3 or 4 blocks to an area near the castle, and you'll see some of these just beautiful statues and so forth. in one of your wanders around in your free time, do not miss this. It's an extra site that's not shown in many tours. So we'll move on to Slovakia. Um, and Slovakia is something we'll hit after we leave Vienna. We'll go down along the along the Danube River Valley to Bratislava. A small town, not as big as important, but some very important worldwide meetings have been held there. So you may hear that in the news from time to time. Bratislava does have some beautiful mountains. We'll miss all of this, but it just has some very beautiful parts of the country. And as you can see, there's some mountainous areas in that area. Now, Slovakia is obviously one of the landlocked countries in Europe. Is roughly coextensive with the historic region of Slovakia, and is the easternmost part of the two territories that from 1918 into 1992 constituted Czechoslovakia. The short history of independent Slovakia is one of a desire to move from mere autonomy within the Czechoslovak Federation to sovereignty. History of resistance to being called a nation after the hyphen. Although World War II thwarted the Slovaks' first vote of independence in 1939, sovereignty was finally realized in January 1, 1993, slightly more than 3 years after the Velvet Revolution, the collapse of the communist regime that had controlled Czechoslovakia since 1948. Now, Slovakia became a part of the European Union in 2004, member of the Eurozone, part of the Schengen Borders Agreement, and part of NATO since 2004, and was part of the Soviet-dominated area, Warsaw Pact, but not part of the USSR. The Slovakia population has grown pretty steadily over the years to 5.43 million people. Slovakia is not the easiest place to do business with again. Ease of doing business down 42nd, better than Hungary, but corruption perception index is way down there, 57th, not so good. Index of economic freedom, 65th, not the best place to do business, but nonetheless, it has been progressing and growing over the years. On a per capita basis for GDP, Slovakia is not too bad, less than or a bit more than half the United States, but better than Lithuania, Estonia, and some of the others. Lots of room for improvement, but the annual growth rate had really been like some of the many of those other countries, right around that 5% over the last 10 years. And obviously dropped during the pandemic, increased, and then it's kind of leveled off. Unemployment rate really rose there during the pandemic, and now to a little over 5.5%. Not the best, but not too shabby. Now, Slovakia is a net recipient of monies coming from the European Union. Now, things to see in Bratislava. There is a Bratislava castle, which you may or may not have time to go real quickly on a tour. Some people in past tours have done that. Other people have taken the time to eat lunch and just kind of relax in Old Town. It's a picturesque place to kind of walk around. It's kind of cute. Not as big or impressive as some of the others, but it's neat. So we'll move on to the Czech Republic. And Czech Republic really has been a major part of what's considered Germany, particularly this western part. Germany really considered that part of Germany, and so it's been really Western looking for many, many years. And there's a site of those major unrest and so forth in the coming apart of the Soviet Union. It's a varied terrain, no major mountains, but no real lowlands either. The Czech Republic became a part of the European Union in 2004, has its own currency, the koruna, part of the Schengen Agreement, became part of NATO in 1999, and as I mentioned, was part of that Soviet-dominated area in the Warsaw Bloc, but not part of the USSR. That really, the unrest there was really part of really what caused the undoing of the Soviet Union. Now, the Czech Republic is again a net recipient of the funds from the European Union, a pretty good sizable amount. As a GDP as a per capita, Czech Republic, right here, more than half of what the US is, and better than some of the other countries, but not near what Austria is. Now, Czech Republic is sort of in the middle when it comes to the ease of doing business. It could be better for sure. Corruption index is better than Slovakia and Hungary, but right there, actually worse than Poland, which was not considered good. So again, room for improvement. Many of these Eastern European countries suffer from this difficulty with corruption. Population of Czech Republic really has continued to grow, including after the Soviet Union collapsed, because it was one of the countries that people wanted to move to from Hungary and so forth. It's dropped somewhat recently. Annual growth rate was right there around 5%, like many of the others. It dropped and recovered. Unemployment rate, even during the pandemic, a little over 4%, not bad at all. Just over 3.5% is really considered below the natural rate of unemployment that economists do. So really quite good for employees. What to see in Prague? The astronomical clock. Now, my wife says that should be named the gastronomical clock, and with the clockwork that I like to eat my lunch at noon and dinner at 6 on the dime. But it's kind of an oddity. In old time Prague, just really neat things to see. So it's a picturesque, pretty town. When I first went to Prague in 2018 in October, it didn't impress me at all. It was a rainy day. I didn't like it. Then when I returned back there in 2019 in May, I saw it green. Oh, wow, this is a different city than I saw in October of 2018. The Charles Bridge is something that people like to go see. Prague Castle, the bus will drop us off at the Prague Castle to see that. That is really quite impressive historical mark.